Good morning, bright blessings to everyone out there. It's been a minute since we've spent some time together, but thank you so much for sharing the space with me. If you're returning, it's good to be with you again, and if you're new to my channel, welcome, welcome, welcome. Today's video is going to be brief but packed with a lot of helpful information. This is definitely going to answer a lot of questions that some of you have and help you take your candle magic manifestation to the next level. Some of the tips and things that I'm going to share with you today, you might want to get a pen and paper, your book of shadows if you have one, your magical journal, grimoires, or whatever it is that you normally take notes with. If you don't have any of those tools, that's totally okay. You can just return back to the video if you forget something or have any questions. The easiest way to find it is by liking the video if this information is helpful and subscribing to my channel so you don't miss any further upcoming videos. Alright, so candle magic, ritual work, and your remains. What do you do with them? So, you've successfully completed a candle magic ritual. You have figured out whatever it is the condition that needs to be fixed or changed or manifested or removed. You either did some research and found a ritual online, on a spell book, through a spiritual advisor, or perhaps your intuition just sort of led you how to piece things together. You then went and collected all the tools that you needed, figured out the best day, time, moon phase, and set aside that time to perform your work. Now it's all done. And the last step is really just waiting for the results, except what do you do with everything that's left over? What do you do with the magical tools once you're done with them? So you have either used a glass candle or a wax candle or whatever the work itself called for, and now what is the appropriate way of disposing of them? Are you even supposed to dispose of them? The answer is yes and no, which depends, and that's what we're going to go over today. Some of the information that I'm going to share with you, you may have heard before, you may not have heard of this at all, and other cultures or other areas of magic may have a different way of disposing the ritual remains. So, for example, you may read something in a candle magic book that says get rid of a money drawing candle this way, and you may read a similar ritual in a voodoo book that suggests you getting rid of it another way. I personally don't feel that one way is necessarily right or correct versus the other way. It's just two different ways of doing things. Of course, if you are initiated or planning to be or looking to really work within one area of magic, if you feel drawn to one particular area versus the other, then I would suggest you following those teachings, because most of the time whoever wrote those books, the information that they shared is because it's worked for them. Also to just kind of, maybe keep a little integrity if that is, if you're steadfast on, I want to practice Santeria, I want to practice voodoo, or I want to practice Wicca, then yeah, it is good to familiarize and learn the techniques that is offered. There's nothing wrong with switching things up, trying something new, maybe even studying another area of magic and trying something a totally different way. That's absolutely fine, but I just want to express that, what I suggest may be totally different from what you learn, and it doesn't mean that I'm correct and this is the right way to do it or that's the right way to do it. It's just another option. So the reason why I bring that up also is because the way you dispose of something, could it affect the results? Maybe. Could it be the reason why your spells aren't manifesting? Or maybe the reason why they are manifesting so quick that your head is spinning and you don't even realize that you're doing something to help aid your magic. Do all candle rituals, remains and leftovers need to be disposed? In a sense, yes, but we're going to get into that a little bit down the line in the video. So I'm going to discuss a few different types of candles, give you some examples of some rituals that those candles are used for, and then a few different ways to think about disposing them. Take from it what you may, and if you have any questions, of course, please let me know. Also, if you have any suggestions to add, I would love to hear about those as well. So First and foremost, I'm going to talk about the main, I feel, is the probably traditional or main candle that most people tend to work with or are familiar with, which are the Novena candles. They're also referred to as the 7-day glass candles, sometimes 9-day, but what they are the candles that come in the tall glass, and you can, they're about yay high. You can find them normally at your local grocery store. They may be seen in some dollar stores or Walmart, and of course if you ever gone into a botanica or some sort of metaphysical store, chances are that you've seen these glass encased candles that come in a variation of colors. Most people are familiar with the ones that have pictures of them. They have labels of saints or angels, and they tend to have a prayer on the back of the candle. But there are others that come in just plain solid colors with no writing, no pictures or anything. It's just plain. It's sort of a blank, I consider them a blank canvas for you to work with. And then there are other candles that are specifically made for particular conditions. So love, money, court, health, wealth, jinx removing, so forth and so on. I mean, there's hundreds and hundreds of dozens, and you guys can look those up for yourself later. So with these glass candles, when you perform your work, they've set on your sacred space and burned over a course of 7 days. Now that the candle is gone and it's empty, what do you do with it? Should you leave it there until the results manifest? Should you toss it in the trash on trash day? What should you do? Well, the answer to that varies depending on the type of work. There's only a couple of ways that I dispose of mine, which seem to have given me the results that I've always looked for. So, number one, for example, if I'm doing something for, let's say, success, money drawing, prosperity, good luck, once the candle has burned down completely, and the candle looks like it's burned very well, if you're learning how to interpret your candles. If not, you can always Google candle interpretations. But once the candle is done, I feel like it's burned down very well, I will simply rinse my candles out with either Florida water or tap water. I will thank the universe and thank the energy and thank the element and the tool of the candle itself for working for me, and I will simply throw them away. I feel that now that the candle's gone, the work is complete. But that's not the same for everything. So if I was doing let's say a jinx remover, a blockbuster, something to, remove bad luck or a spell breaker for someone, that particular candle, I feel it needs to be ritually disposed of, meaning not just rinsed out and tossed in the trash, but to symbolically seal the work and finish everything. So for a spell breaker, I would take that candle out away from my home or away from the client's home. Usually, and again, it depends on where I'm at. Sometimes I dispose of things at railroad tracks or out in nature. Of course, not anywhere where anyone or animal will be harmed by it, but I will take it and I will break it. Oftentimes I will break it inside of a bag so that there aren't shards or glass just left around, but I will break it and dispose of it wherever the proper place will be. Sometimes things have to be disposed of few times, not often, but sometimes things do have to be disposed of at a cemetery, and there are proper precautions that need to be taken for that. I do have a video on how to dispose your remains in the cemetery, but that's another option. So it really all depends. Oftentimes, the type of spell that you're doing will kind of give you some key clues as to what the best way of disposing it is. On the flip side, if I was doing a work for, let's say, a marriage spell, so a couple or someone has been in a relationship and they're ready to take it to the next step and they just kind of want to give their partner that little push to getting married, I will dispose of the candle at a church, usually one that I've seen host weddings, because that's the energy around that. Those grounds carry that energy that coincides with the results that the person is looking for. So, does that make sense? So that's the three basic ways that I would dispose of those candles. Other people, I've heard, have kept certain candles, things that were for good luck or for protection. They will keep them. They will clean them out really good, rinse them out, and they will reuse them. So they can be used for putting some fresh flowers and maybe sitting back on your altar. If it's a money candle, I've heard of some people using them and putting their loose change in it to collect money, and so that, it carries that energy. If it's for protection, I've heard of people placing them in the backyard or maybe somewhere tucked around the house to keep that energy of protection around. So those are just a couple of different ways that you can do it. And if you feel creative or something comes to you that feels right, then by all means, that is very well the way that it's supposed to be done. So that's glass candles. The next type of candles most people tend to commonly use are the wax candles. These are not encased in glass. They tend to come in either a stick form where they're 6 inches, sometimes they're 10 inches, like the long dinner candles. They can come in images, so they may be in a shape of a man or a woman, or a heart or whatever. The figure candles come in all different shapes. And those candles are normally burned either on a candle holder or on a plate, a dish, a saucer, something that's safe and fire resistant. Again, depending on the type of work that you're doing, what should you do with the wax remains? Well, if I was doing a money spell and I had a little bit of the green wax left over, I have taken some of that wax and have disposed it at a bank. Why a bank? Because that's where all the money is. Usually I recommend people to dispose of it at their bank branch because, well, you want more money in your bank account, don't you? Yeah. If you are doing something to draw in good luck to yourself, you can take a bit of that wax and wrap it up in a piece of fabric, something that represents good luck. Yellow, green, white is all purpose. You can wrap it up and carry it with you. Create yourself a little lucky charm bag and keep that in your pocket or in your purse or, somewhere on you. If you were maybe doing a ritual for a new job or you wanted to get an interview at a specific place, then you might want to take some of that wax and leave it on the property of the business that you are looking into. Of course, you want to be very discreet when you do this. It doesn't have to be a big production. You just walk up gently, place your wax where it is, dispose of it, say a few words, and you keep on moving. No one really has to notice what you're doing. Sometimes it's better to do these things at night so that there's sort of, less attention. But if that's not an option, of course it can be done in the day. You just have to figure out a creative way to do it. If I was doing a ritual for someone healing or someone, perhaps a loved one is in the hospital, then I might take a little bit of the wax and leave it on the hospital grounds, just asking for the healing and the person to get better. So that's just another way, another example. For some love workings, again, depending on what it is, if there was something where you were trying to keep your spouse from straying, then perhaps burying the candle wax, if that's an option, in the yard of the home, maybe in a potted plant if you live in an apartment and you don't have a yard. Also, you can always place a little bit of wax under your mattress, if there's perhaps infidelity there and you want to make sure that your partner is staying faithful and not going out and being intimate with anyone else. That's a way of sort of putting some insurance that they always come home to you and that they are in bed and intimate with just you. So that is another way of doing things. The list can go on and on and on. There's so many ways to dispose of some things. Other candle workings, types of candles may require being left in nature, or perhaps if you are one who petitions or asks for the help of an angel or a deity or a spirit, then there may be some instructions on leaving it someplace out where that energy governs. So maybe by a stream of water or under a particular tree. If you're channeling a loved one, an ancestor, a deceased family member, then perhaps leaving it where their remains are can aid you in that way. But again, if it requires going into a cemetery, you do want to be cautious. If certain things require, being disposed of in a place that you're not comfortable with, or it feels unethical to you, then I suggest that you do not do it. So what I mean by that is there are some spells that say you dispose of your work or your candles in a running stream of water or in the ocean. Well, me personally, and I have suggested this in very, 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 very rare cases, but me personally, I do not like to dispose of anything in the ocean or anything where there is marine life. I don't want to put anything that can contaminate the water and cause harm or death to, an innocent fish, basically. That feels unethical to me, and I'm not trying to cause any harm or hurt anyone or poison the water by performing any type of ritual work. So, if someone asks me, will you dispose of this in the ocean? The answer is no, I won't do it. So that's what I mean by if it doesn't feel good, if it doesn't feel ethical, if you're uncomfortable, if you're scared, if you're like, I just don't really want to do that, then don't do it. Because if you do, what will happen is not only that will be on your conscience and you'll be thinking about it, but you will start second guessing, which could compromise the results of the work. And if you're feeling bad about the way you finish the spell and you're feeling bad about it, then that energy is playing into it as well, and it could delay things or keep it from manifesting altogether. Who knows? Let's see. Finally, of course, magic is all about intentions. So I don't want anyone, who's watched this video and says, well, I never disposed of my candle that way, to feel like they've done something wrong or it's prevented them from whatever it is that they're working on to manifest. But, if you have been just throwing your candles out and you haven't seen much results, maybe switching up and trying to implement one of these techniques I mentioned could help you. You may see some different type of results. And if you're not sure, you can always just Google search how to dispose your ritual candles. There's an abundance of information on there that will help you go through it and see what is convenient, what feels right, and what you feel is the proper method of doing it. I don't think it requires doing anything, you don't have to drive 100 yards away to dispose of your candle. I don't think that you have to go, dig a hole in the park at 3 o'clock in the morning or anything like that. But unless you want to, of course. I find the most successful rituals are the ones that are kept pretty simple. So I hope this information was helpful. I hope this answered some questions and giving you some ideas just to kind of get the wheels turning of different ways to dispose of your remains. If you have any questions, please, as always, leave them below. Share your story, share some ways that you dispose of your candles. If there's something I haven't touched on, I'd love to hear about it. Again, thank you for watching Mystic at the Crossroads. Be sure to follow me. I'm on Instagram under One Ritual Away. You can also find me on Snapchat, One Ritual Away, and Facebook, Jasmine Atten, or in my Facebook group, Let's Talk Magic. That's magic with a CK at the end. Send a request. I'd love to hear from you guys. Talk to you soon. Bright blessings, everyone.